Mr. President, yesterday I joined with Senate colleagues for an all-senators classified briefing on the Israel-Gaza conflict. At the briefing, I asked Secretary Austin when he needs emergency funding for our ongoing efforts. And he said it was clear. He said we need it, and in very strong terms, he said the words yesterday. The Israeli leaders we met over the weekend used the same exact words, yesterday. That means the Senate cannot wait, and we will not wait. We also talked about the situation on the ground in Israel and Gaza at our briefing. As was made clear yesterday, the intelligence community assesses that according to the current analysis and available intelligence, Israel is not to blame for the explosion of the hospital in Gaza. As was made clear yesterday, and I checked this and I was allowed to say it from our intelligence community, the intelligence community assesses that according to the current analysis and available intelligence, Israel is not to blame for the explosion of the hospital in Gaza. Our intelligence believes it was an errant rocket from terrorists allied with Hamas in Gaza. Spreading inaccuracies, as Hamas so often does at painful times like this, is supremely risky and only endangers more human life. There's a lot of misinformation circulating in the chaos of this war, and it's incumbent on all of us not to ensure that we don't fan the flames and increase tensions, particularly when we're relying on a very, very difficult issue from a source that is known to lie all the time. We all know, of course, the loss of any innocent life is terrible. The loss of innocent Israeli life, Palestinian life, any innocent life, and I saw the pictures of the children in the hospital. You feel very badly about it. We have to condemn that at every turn. But when seeking the truth, it's imperative, utterly imperative, that people don't merely take the first thing they hear and run with it, particularly when it comes from a group like Hamas, known to spread lie after lie after lie. We should not sprint to believe the word of organizations like Hamas, a terrorist group, while ignoring the facts and findings of our own intelligence. That's why I was pleased President Biden made clear that our intelligence indicates terrorists in Gaza were responsible for this tragedy. And I was also glad to see that the president in Tel Aviv yesterday was on point. America will stand with Israel. America will help them defeat Hamas. But he also said everyone must be deliberate at this moment, and we must unequivocally work to protect civilian life during conflict. That is a really tough job, particularly when Hamas puts hostages in the middle of civilian populations, rockets, military equipment in the middle of civilian populations, and use them as shields. But even having said how difficult this is, Israel, being a democracy, has to live to a higher standard. And we made that point, all of us, when we visited Israel, as much as we wanted the Israelis to know we stand by them and will give them the equipment and things they need. So this morning, Mr. President, the Senate will pass a bipartisan resolution affirming that the Senate stands firmly with Israel and firmly against Hamas. Hopefully, the Senate will speak in one voice that Israel is our friend and that Hamas's attack is reprehensible, and that we'll stand with our friends to defend themselves. Our resolution has overwhelming, nearly unanimous support in the Senate on both sides, and we're working with the few who have some problems to solve their problems so we can get this done. And by the end of the week, the President will send the Senate a supplemental request to provide Israel the military, intelligence, diplomatic, and humanitarian aid it needs. Excuse me. When the Senate receives this request, we will spring into action and move it as soon as we can. Secretary Austin was clear. They need these funds yesterday, especially right now, as extremists have brought the House of Representatives to complete paralysis. The world needs to see a U.S. Senate united in action. Democrats and Republicans in this chamber must send an unmistakable message that the work of legislating is not going to stop over here because of chaos in the other chamber. And if we act with enough bipartisan strength, it's my hope that it could help the House snap out of its delirium and get back to the business of governing, not letting a small hard-right group simply tie the House in a knot because they're not getting their way. Every day counts immensely.